Hi everyone, it's Ellie here from the Big Sister Project, and today I'm speaking with Haylee, who's all the way in America, and she reached out to me a little while ago about a school project, and I jumped in and said, yes, I'd love to help you, and I'd let Haylee introduce the project a bit more.
So this is a 4-year senior project for high school where you choose something that is very, very dear to you. And that to me is child abuse because it is something that I have experience with. And so our last little leg of the project is you do some sort of like active service. And I oh, kind of went a little bit extra where some people are like picking up trash at the beach and some people are like volunteering at like elderly homes, but I decided to work with Ellie to create a seminar that way people who have similar experiences or um, need help or just want to like hear somebody that's been through something similar has somebody that they can listen to, and even in the future if anybody gets a hold of my handles you can talk to.
It's so awesome, and it was really a nice surprise to hear from you and be part of it, because obviously, across the world there are tons and tons of people that have no one to talk to, and usually YouTube and the internet is the place they go to find voices to resonate with. So this is going to hopefully reach all of those people over time.
Right, absolutely.
So Haylee,
Think
let's just oh, sorry, go on, you were going to say something.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I think the greatest part about things like this is the validation part of it, is like that people are going through the same thing and that it's not like you don't have to like sit there wondering if you're the only one.
Yeah. And I often find as well, just through my work as a coach, that many of the people around your age and younger all do feel lonely in their struggle. They do feel like it's just them. And yeah, when they find out they're not, it's usually one of the biggest reliefs, It's one of the
Absolutely.
to pull them out of where they're in. So what led you to this topic then, Haylee? What is it that you'd like to share about your story that's kind of made you passionate and want to explore this?
Yeah, so I where do I begin? So my mom isn't really in the picture. There's a fly in my room. My mom really isn't in the picture. So my dad remarried my now ex stepmom when I was 4 years old, and so she the main like the thing that I really want to like focus this on is understanding and recognizing what abuse looks like, because for years and years both me and my dad, I mean, of course it started when I was 4 years old, so of course 4-year-old me isn't going to recognize what abuse looks like, um, but it was very difficult to see what abuse looked like, especially in the beginning stages. So I began to see it when I was like very little. When they first got married, my dad told he tells me now, I don't remember this, but there were times where I would come home and I would say, Dad, I'm scared of her. And she would um, cry to my dad, and just like she would feel so terrible and so bad. And he would be like, well, as long as you promise me that you change and you're going to get counseling and you're going to read all these books and you're going to do better, then it'll be all right, right? Um, but that was not the case. That is not what happened, and that's not usually what happens. If people have a vested interest in changing the way that they are and the way that they act, then sometimes they'll find the willpower to do that, but it's not all the time. And that's what happened in my case. And it was very hard for my dad, who has a history, or like his whole childhood was spent with his mom, who acted very similar. So he grew up thinking that was what's normal, but it wasn't. And so all of the emotional abuse that he went through with his mom is what we began to go through with my ex stepmom. And so, that being said, for years, neither of us saw it because it was normal to him and I was little. So that was the foundation that was being brought up in me. That's what I thought was normal. That was my normal. And so there are so many different little things that you can recognize as forms of abuse. One of them, the biggest one, is walking on eggshells, feeling like you're constantly having to like walk around your words and your actions with people. And that doesn't have to just be with a parent, that's with relationships. marriages, even just little high school relationships, you have to be comfortable talking to people and to people closest to you. You can't always have you like it's not healthy to like sit there and wonder if what you're going to say is going to make them super mad. That is a form of abuse. And there's so many other ones.
Yeah. And is that one that sticks out to you as quite a prominent one where you felt like your voice was silenced and or had to be kind of modified to be able to be spoken?
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
And how
but
long
it shows that, huh?
I was going to say, how long has your stepmom been like out of the picture? Because you said she's your ex-stepmom. How long's she been?
Yeah, that brings me into another really good point. She has been out of the picture for, let's see, they divorced when I was 11 and I am 17 now. So it has been 6 years. It's been a very long time. And 7 years of walking on eggshells all the time. You would think that, like, after 6 years, you'd be fine and you'd kind of work through it, but that's not the case. And this is another big thing that I didn't realize, that the traumas that come from being abused or in an abusive friendship or relationship, they don't show up until a while later. They don't show up right away, because there was a very long time period where I felt super happy and I didn't really have any friendship issues, and like everything felt fine, and I didn't feel like any of the big repercussions of what I'd gone through until very recently, when I started to realize I still walk on eggshells with people that I talk to, regardless of what they've ever said or done to me. And that is a minute form of PTSD, but it's a valid form. And that's one of the things that people have to realize is, like, even if you are fine in the first couple of years after you've been through years of abuse, it doesn't mean that there's not going to be anything that's going to come up. And it's very important to talk to people about those things too, because it's miserable sitting with people not feeling like you can talk to them for no reason. And it is very important to work through those things once you realize that they're an issue.
Yeah. And when you say walking on eggshells, just to give some examples, like, was it literally anything? Like, were there specific triggers for your stepmom, or were there specific topics, or was it everything? Like, just to give some context as to what kind of boundaries you had and what things you were allowed to talk about.
So again, it was 6 years ago, so might take me a like second to think of like some specifics, but I just remember, this is a very, very weird one, but I remember one specific example when I was barely going into puberty and like deodorant became a thing. And it wasn't something that I was used to like incorporating into my morning routine. So there was a morning that I forgot to put on deodorant. And this was such a weird little thing. She had asked me, like, are you ready to go? And she asked me specifically, did you remember to put your deodorant on? And I remember like thinking, oh my goodness, no, I forgot to, but I didn't say that. I felt the need to lie to her, like, no, I remembered it, because there was this deep ingrained like fear in me that if I told her like, no, I forgot to do something, she would get so angry at me, because there were times where that happened. And so I remember like sneaking to the bathroom to like put the deodorant on, and somehow she caught me, and that's when she like flipped and she got so angry. And I also think that it's important to say that she hasn't been like diagnosed, but multiple counselors have said that she needs to get tested for borderline personality disorder. She refuses to. So we are under the assumption that she has it, but we can't say that she absolutely does. But it definitely explains her behavior a little bit differently. This is not how normal people act. Normal people don't get super angry when their kid forgets to put deodorant on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's a really interesting example. And
yeah,
especially when you're in those years of trying to become a teenager or a tweenager, you know, like that in between phase, that's when you kind of need the sensitivity and the compassion towards the changes that you're going through, you know. I think it's powerful to look back at that now. Do you when you, because you said you've had what, 6 years of like going through the motions of trying to heal from it and find out, you know, find yourself a bit more, would you say that you hold resentment towards her, or would you say you hold compassion? Like, where are you at on your personal journey on the scale of like feelings towards her?
Right now, I'm really trying to be mature with the way that I feel about her, because it's so easy to be resentful of the people that do bad things to you. But I also have to understand that if it weren't for the things that I went through with her, I would not be the person that I am today. And I'm very happy about the person that I am today and the things that I've been able to overcome. It's something that I'm very proud of, being as strong as I am emotionally and being able to share my experiences with other people. Um, but it is definitely really hard sometimes because, again, there are little traumas that I hold with me that affect my everyday life to this day, that I have every reason to feel sorry for myself and to feel upset, and to be like, if it weren't for you, this wouldn't be the case. But I have to be a lot more mature about it than I want to. Um, and that being said, there is also a very big portion of me that is just like sad, because again, my mom isn't really in the picture. So she was supposed to be the saving grace, the person that was supposed to like be there for me instead.
Mm.
And there are times where I begin to feel sorry for myself. I'm like, I didn't have that. Like, you weren't able to offer me that. But again, if it weren't for those experiences, I would not be the same person that I am today. And for that, I am thankful. I'm thankful that I have those traumas so that I can help people who have the same ones.
Mm. And have you found, that's amazing, have you found that since you've been opening up more, I mean, I'm guessing this isn't the first time you've opened up about this, but have you found people coming towards you as well, like wanting to connect with you about it, or just kind of synchronicities or coincidences where people just pop up and actually can benefit from your story?
Yeah, there was this actually only happened like a week ago on my wrestling team. I was talking a little bit about I was just sitting down with one of the girls that's newer on our team, so I haven't really been able to like bond with her yet. And her experience on our team being a new girl, that was me last year, I was able to connect with her there, and it somehow led into some of our family issues. And I briefly explained, like, yeah, this is who I am, this is what I've been through. Like, I don't, like, you don't need to feel sorry or anything. This is just how it is. And I remember seeing her face and being like, it felt like we were connecting in like a very deep way. This girl that I had literally met like a couple weeks ago and I just barely started talking to, and she started sharing some of her experiences. And the way that she explained it, you could tell that she thought that, like, that's just the way it is. Mom hits me at home sometimes, but it's not that big of a deal. And I'm like, well, how's your relationship with your mom? And she's like, it's not great.
Mm.
Like, I don't really want to talk to her a lot. She hides a lot of the things that she does outside of the house, and she just doesn't feel at home in her home. And the like the conclusion that we came to at the end of the conversation was like, we're going to be the kinds of parents that don't do that to our kids. Like, we actually like leave room for open communication, and
Mm.
like hitting should never be allowed in the household, like things like that. And so being able to help her realize, like, no, it's not good to be treated like that by your family, even if it is your mom. Like, you should have mutual respect. She should have respect for you. You need to have respect for her, but she can't treat you like dog crap.
No.
Yeah.
Great statement. And
Yeah.
it sounds so obvious, but it's not, it's not to a lot of
Right.
families. Like, I've seen that too, it's so, and when it's normalized, when people start to feel that that is normal and it's okay, that's when it starts to be continued through generations, if it's not caught early enough. So it's really great that you found people that you can ask those questions to,
Right.
you can do it.
Absolutely.
It's awesome. So you said, you wouldn't be the person that you are today what is it about yourself that you admire, if you were to really like hone in on the mindsets you've adapted to, and the kind of personality traits you're kind of proud of in yourself? Like, what is it that you feel that you've been able to grow into?
I've definitely, I would say my ability to recognize other people's, I would say, toxic behaviors, and not only to be able to recognize them, but to be able to, like, how do I explain it? Like, monitor people so that I know who I'm best suited around. I think it's not often taught, like in the household, in schools, the kinds of people that you should be around, or the kind of person that you should be. Like, it's never okay to try to manipulate people into getting what you want out of them. It's never okay to, there's just so many different personality traits that are so harmful to other people, but have kind of been normalized in this everyday society. And I'm very happy that I'm able to recognize those and be like, you're not the kind of person that I want to hang around, so I'm going to minimize my exposure to you. And not only to be able to see other people's, but to recognize them in myself. Because, like you said, a lot of the behavior that you're around your whole life starts to repeat itself. And I'll find myself doing certain things, um, like sometimes I don't know how to like react to my little brother, because a lot of the time I have to like watch him, and sometimes when he does something that makes me a little bit angry, I'll react rather than like talk to him, because that's what I grew up with. Anytime that she got angry, there was a big reaction, and it was difficult for me to like kind of sift through that and be like, well, that's not how you should do it. And so sometimes I'll catch them in myself, and I'll be able to say, hey, I apologize. I realized that I like kind of went off on you and I didn't mean to. There was no reason for it. Let's talk this out.
Yeah.
So being able to see toxic behaviors in others, catching them in myself, and then accountability, being able to say sorry, let's work through this.
That's so cool. And accountability is a huge one in so many places in life, you know. It's going to serve
Absolutely.
time. And I think catching, like we were just saying before, like catching behavior early enough is going to serve you massively, because it will stop you, well, hopefully, or at least prevent you entering into toxic relationships, like personal, you know, romantic relationships. And that's where you would then eventually possibly continue cycles on. So catching this now, seeing it, witnessing the patterns and breaking it is huge. And I hope you give yourself enough credit for that, because there's a lot of young people that would, like I said to you when we first met, that would go the other way. You know, they would choose to be in the victim mode constantly, and you're making like an active decision not to be that, you know?
Right. Absolutely.
Really, really cool. Awesome. What would be 3 things you would share with your younger self now, if you were to give her advice?
Oh man, this is such a deep topic, because I think about this all the time. Like, I think like it's just like I'll daydream thinking like, what would I say to me if I could see her right now? And I just remember always seeing like in all of my like family photos of little me that I see, you can tell that I'm like timid and I'm scared. And I think the biggest thing that I would, like, the number one thing is to let her know like this isn't normal. Like the household that you're living in, the way that you're being treated is not okay, but it's not going to last forever. Um, I think if little me was able to even talk to my dad or other people and to be like, hey, this is happening in my home and I understand that it's not normal, so I need help, something probably would have happened, but I never knew that that was the case. So if I was able to go back to little me and tell her like, you can't put up with this, I understand that you're little, but you can't put up with abuse even if it's in your own home. Mm-hmm. I think that's number one. I think if I had to say anything else to myself, I think I would just want to be like there. It's so weird to say. Like, I wish that like older me could just like hold little me for a second and be like, it's gonna be okay. You're not, this doesn't last forever, and you are the kind of person that's going to take from it the positive things, and you're gonna become stronger. You're not always gonna be a victim. The biggest thing that I ever did was join my wrestling team, and that's how I dealt with a majority of this trauma and became a lot stronger from it. And I wish that I could go back to little me and say, you're gonna get stronger and you are going to be the coolest version of yourself at some point in your life. I don't know where I'm going from here. Like, this could be my peak. This could be like the very lowest of my peaks. Either way, you're going to be in a very, very good spot very soon.
Yeah. Have you ever done any like inner child work? Have you heard about that?
I've heard of it, but I haven't done it specifically. I've definitely nothing specific like that. I would love to, though.
It would be something to look into. I know some people that can do that work like in a really deep way, and I can take people on small journeys to kind of visit their inner child a little bit. But it sounds like you've already kind of got the connection there with your inner self, like your younger self. And I think part of, at least from what I've witnessed in the coaching that I've done and in my own coaching, because people have coached me in this as well, is actually reconnecting to that inner child and actually nurturing it again, you know, like saying those things that you just said to me, but actually saying it and feeling it in yourself as if you are speaking to your younger you, and asking them what they need, you know, like what did little you need? Little you needed someone to hold her, right?
Right.
You needed a mum.
Right, exactly.
Makes total sense that you look back and wish you could do that.
Right, absolutely.
It's really powerful. What are your what would you say, I mean, you've kind of touched on it, but what would you say you've kind of learned about yourself and your place in the world through what you've gone through?
I definitely believe that I'm here to help people, whether it be on a big scale or just my teammates, like somebody that can relate to the things that you're going through and can actually like talk you through it. I've always wanted to be a mom, even before like the divorce happened and I thought that I was just in a little happy home. I have always wanted to be at least somebody that nurtures somebody else. That's like what I feel like my calling is. So like career wise, money wise, I have no idea where I'm going, but I know for certain that I absolutely want to be a mom. And I believe that all of these experiences makes it so much more like it solidifies it even more, because I want to break the cycle so bad. Because I can tell, even with this generation, I don't know if you've heard of gentle parenting, the like
I've heard it thrown around, yeah.
The term gentle parenting, and some people think that's like let your kid get away with everything kind of parenting, but it's absolutely not. Being able to realize that you don't have to yell at your kids in order to see a difference in behavior. Sometimes your kids just don't know how to process emotions, or they've never felt something before and they need your help, or they just need help in general, being able to filter that through. And sometimes that comes out as a temper tantrum, not because they're being a bad kid. That's just they have no other way to process that emotion because they don't know how. And I think a lot of parents don't realize that, and definitely nobody in my bloodline ever understood that. And so I definitely see myself as somebody that's going to help break the cycle in my family and create some kids that aren't emotionally abused.
That's amazing. I can already see you doing that, and I feel like there's, as much as, you know, what you've already said, it kind of makes me think, as much as we there's a quote, I'm kind of getting like a long-winded way of getting to the quote, but basically the quote is, in order to fully love ourselves and honor ourselves, we can't hate the experiences that shaped us. We can't have resentment, you know, we have to love them as part of the journey. And the fact that you've already got to that point, or are getting to that point where you actually are starting to see your ex-stepmom and even your mum for leaving you and stuff, you know, you're starting to see it from a mature but also emotionally grounded perspective. It's not just up in the air like anger and frustration and this is your fault, it's actually seeing it as at the same time, like a child, perhaps your ex stepmom didn't have the tools to express herself as a kid, and has had no one since then, and has only had someone else to take it out on. It doesn't make it right, but it's her experience, you know, and you happen to be the person that she took that out on, and it's now shaping your experience, you know. So
Right,
it's
absolutely.
all interlinked, and having that compassion, even though it doesn't make it right or nice, it's
Right, absolutely.
become a driving force for you. And your goals for the future, you know, you said you're not quite sure yet what you want to do, um, but do you have like a rough, like, kind of field of interest, or is it still very much open?
I always wanted to be a counselor for the exact same reasons that I explained, but school has never been, well, I love school. School's great. I'm not good at it. And so, I went from thinking I was gonna be a psychology major, and then I was like, yeah, I'll just be a realtor, to I'll just stay in the restaurant business because that's what my dad's current girlfriend does, and it's awesome, and she loves it. But I've had so many different like ideas. I thought about going to trade school for carpentry for a little bit. I was like, yeah, why not? It's
Wow.
becoming a thing, and so I was like, yeah, why not? Um, I have so many different ideas, but it's just there's so many. I'm like,
Mm.
not quite sure. I'm gonna start off by getting an associate's degree in business because you can do so much with that.
Yeah, it's a great foundation, eh?
Yeah.
One of the things I love the carpentry thing as well. One of the things I encourage for a lot of the people your age that I work with is to not be afraid of zigzagging, like, just
Right.
bounce around. Like, even me, I've got a degree in filmmaking and directing and writing, but I'm not currently directing any shows. I'm coaching people, you know. So
Right.
the jobs I've had up to then, I've worked in sales, I've worked in teaching, I've worked in marketing, worked in videography. Now I'm coaching. Like, there is no linear pathway, and especially
Right.
with the story that you've got, there are so many avenues that you could use, both practical skills and your emotional skills,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, because one of the things that we're actually learning in school, which is crazy because for like everybody's like they don't teach enough real life stuff in school, but my school's actually doing pretty good with it right now. We had someone come in and basically explain his entire lifeline, and that was he went from military to um, starting his own baseball business to like all of these different other avenues. I don't remember exactly what they all were, but he basically changed his career and like just who he was in life so many times, and he was still successful, and he learned so much from it. And he allowed that to shape him, and he was like, you have to be comfortable changing because life isn't always gonna like it's not gonna stay on the straight road that you think it is, and you're not gonna be on the same path that you started.
Mm.
Like, never in a million years did I think that I was going to be where I am right now, like 10 years ago. Like,
Yeah.
7-year-old me did not think that I was gonna be where I'm at right now, but it happens, and I'm still happy, and I survived every little bit of that, and I learned so much from every little avenue that I swerved off on.
Mm.
And you have to kind of just accept that you're
Yeah.
going to change so much, whether it's careers, relationships, everything. There's so many different paths that you're going to take.
Mm. And change is the only guaranteed thing, right?
Exactly.
And
Oh my,
even within a career, especially with COVID, it's like it's shown us that nothing is guaranteed.
exactly. So much you take for granted. Oh my goodness.
What was life before COVID, eh? It's like the whole world's just completely
I
shifted.
know. Oh
You
my goodness.
don't plan anything too much. Don't hold on to plans too much. Don't think that
Exactly.
everything's going to last forever, because it's not. You know,
Exactly.
it's been powerful in
Oh
that
my
way.
goodness.
How would you say? This is more of a question you've kind of already answered, I guess. But if you were to just if in fact, have you actually thought about being a mentor, like running camps and things? Because, like, I was just putting pieces together about the carpentry, and I know you sing as well, and you're wrestling. Have you ever thought about combining all of your physical activities and your, like, what if you got the business degree thing, like combining all of that and actually running like a therapy camp almost, you know, for like kids to
Yeah.
express and create?
I've thought about so many different like ideas as far as business starting goes because me and my dad talk about it all the time. I have so many different little like things that I do. Like art is one of them. I sing, I wrestle. Like there's like a lot of it doesn't go hand in
No,
hand.
it's so different. I love it.
They could, and so it's like I've thought about it. I just like wouldn't know where to start, but I definitely like the above everything that I do, I just love helping people and I love connecting with people that are similar to me and being able to help people because a lot of people do have a lot of resentment and being able to help them understand like you take you take from it what you get out of you get out of it what you take from it. That's how it goes. And so if you are resentful towards what you've been through, you're not going to go anywhere. And so if I could whatever business I like can make out of it, if I'm able to incorporate all the things that I love doing into one thing, that'd be awesome.
Mm, that'd be so cool. And there's nothing
Yeah.
stopping you either, you know?
Yeah, the world is my oyster.
It really is. It really is. Is there anything else you want to share about your story, like with your stepmom and the kinds of abuse you experienced, just for those people that are out there watching this that are going through that right now? Like, is there anything else that you can kind of, not necessarily advice, but just insights or things you wish someone would have told you while you were going through stuff?
I have I kind of have a story about my wrestling and how that like brought out some of like my deepest like little pieces of trauma. Um when I started, I don't even remember my motivation. I think I just wanted to, like, it just looked fun. I had a boyfriend that did it, and I remember seeing him wrestle. I was like, that looks like fun. And so I joined. And then I remember the first match, I won my first match, but the matches after that, there was one match that I wrestled where I went into triple overtime. And there was something about going head to head with another female and looking her in the eyes and once the whistle blows, you have to beat that girl. That's how the mindset works. And it took me an entire season to be able to see this in myself, but I would get so terrified to get out onto the mat. And I couldn't understand why. I had gone through it so many times in my head. I'm like, what's the worst case scenario? You're not going to die out there. Like, I am strong and I have every ability to win this match. Why am I so scared? And Lemon, I have a little dog back there that's like scratching at my sheets.
Lemon, is that the dog's name?
Lemon, yeah.
So cute.
She's so cute. But anyways, I remember coming home from a match where the second the girl took me down, I laid on the ground and I let her pin me because I wanted so badly to get off the mat because I was so scared and done. And the emotional, like the fear that I had felt like leading up to that match exhausted me the second I even started wrestling her. I remember my legs going numb. It was the weirdest thing. And I came home and my dad was like pretty mad. He was like, you are so excited to wrestle and you go out there and you let her pin you. Like, what's going on? And I just started bawling. And it was like this like angel whispered in my ear the reason why. And years and years of being in a household where the only other woman in the household I was terrified of. And she would yell at me, she would get in my face, and it felt like I was right back in that situation looking her eye to eye, but I knew every time in that situation I was going to lose. Because little girl against grown woman, there was nothing that I could do. And so it brought out this like deep rooted fear of mine that I didn't even know that I had. And this like the scariest thing was understanding the only way I'm ever going to get over that big fear of mine is head first. Like I have to win these matches, or I have to at least try on the mat and realize I'm grown now. Like I am way bigger than I was when I was 4 years old. I can actually I have a chance at beating this girl. I'm not little against a grown woman anymore. She is right there with me. And so being able to recognize that and having the strength to work through it, it took me at least 30 other matches throughout my wrestling career. After state, after the whole season had even ended, I continued to wrestle because I knew that I had found something that was going to help me work through my biggest fear, which was winning fights with, or not even fights, just winning in general.
Winning in general.
It was horrifying. Yeah, because as a little girl, like I said before, the foundation that was being built in my brain about what life is supposed to be like was defeat. That is all I had known. And I had to like manually rewire my brain into believing that you cannot take defeat all the time. And that's when I started to win my matches. And that's when I started to love wrestling again. And so I think the biggest thing that I would advise people is fear is you should be afraid of nothing but fear itself. I totally butchered the way that phrase is supposed to go, but fear is your biggest enemy. You cannot be scared. I don't care how deep-rooted your trauma is and how scared that you are. There are ways that you can work through that, and it is going to be one of the toughest things that you do, especially if those things are created from deep-rooted traumas like that one. There are always ways that you can work through it.
Yeah, I love that. There's nothing to fear but fear itself, I think.
Billy, 2 dogs. Three, but 2 of them are on my bed right now.
That's so cool.
Come here, Billy. Come say hi.
Is the other one called Berry, did you say?
Billy. Her name is Billy.
Berry. It's like berry and lemon. That's awesome. Oh, cute.
Billy and Lemon.
Aww.
She's saying hi. She's making a little guest appearance. She's very cute and very sweet.
Adorable. How old?
You're like a year and a half.
Oh, hello. I love it. As a kid, this has just come to me in the moment. Like, as a kid, did you ever have any moments that you, like, before you just said, you felt like an angel whispered in your ear, like what the reason was, and that's kind of your intuition talking. Did you ever feel that as a kid, like, ever feel like your inner voice was speaking to you and you did know deep down what was needed but weren't able to do it? Or did you feel quite disconnected from yourself as well?
So my family grew up Mormon, so I was constantly, like, every night I would pray at my bedside, and I do now. It's not like really a religion thing, but I grew up definitely like talking with the spirit. And so there were times where I would just ask God. I was like, why do I feel like this? Like, I don't understand why, like, I feel afraid in my own house. There were every single day after school when she would pick me up from school, I remember asking, are we going anywhere before we're going home? Because just staying out of those 4 walls felt safer than being in them. And so I would always, like, just pray and be like, when are things gonna get better? And there was one night, and this is again one of those things that are completely up to perspective. There was one night where shit hit the fan. She got really, really angry, and that was the day that she, like, really physically abused me. She was an ex-army. She was in the army, and so a lot of her punishments were like strenuous exercise or cleaning around the house, but everything that she would do to the extremes. And so where was I going with that? Everything that she would do was always extreme. And so I remember she was having me do, like, all of these different exercises that you would never make a kid do just as a punishment. And I think I had forgotten to do one of my chores, and that was the reason why. And my dad came in the house, realized what was going on, and told me to go to my room, she started fighting my dad. She chased me to my room, and I remember there's a video of this somewhere where I'm like screaming. I'm like, let me out. Stop touching me, stop hitting me. And she would like sit there taunting me. She's like, am I hurting you? The door was locked and my dad was trying to get in, and he had a video going for the cops. And I remember that night my dad had gotten me out. I picked up as much of my stuff as I could and we left. And I remember that traumatizing night was the answer to my prayers. And so it was like, you could see that as the worst day of your life. But my dad and I literally celebrate that day because that was the breaking point. That was when we realized we are being abused. That was when it was just so blatantly clear that what was going on in our house was not okay. And I remember just being so thankful that it had gotten that bad, so that it was undeniable that what I was going through was not okay, because I couldn't question it any further.
And I'm guessing that's incredible that you have that like ability to create that perspective, you know?
Right.
And it's shown how far you've come already. And like with your dad, obviously it's different for him because he's in the relationship in a romantic way. Did you see changes in your dad as time went on as well? Like how he started to notice, and like the balance between you guys, like being parent and child, and him being in a relationship and a co-parent? Like, what advice would you give around that with kids that are feeling disconnected from their parent when the parent's a person? Like, is there anything, insights you can share there?
Yeah, definitely. My dad was very he was always gone. He was always at work. He was the sole provider. So he would get up at 5 a.m, go to work, and not come home until like at least 9. And so he didn't get to see a lot of what was going on. And there was definitely this like little fake face that she would put on once he got home. And so I was always too afraid to tell him, like, this is what's going on. But I think if I was able to, like, be able to say, Dad, she hit me today, or she made me do, like, the X amount of exercise, if I was able to communicate that, things would probably have been different. But there was also this fear in me that he was going to, like, tell her, and then it was just going to get worse. Or what if he's on her side? Like, there were all of these little fears that, like, honestly, I don't know how I would have been able to like work around those, but I definitely wish there were so many days that I wished I would have said something, because he just wasn't aware. Like, he didn't know that that's what was going on most of the time. So if he was aware, he definitely would not have let it slide as far as he did.
So maybe your thing from that is to share that it's okay to feel that fear of your real blood parent being resistant to hearing it, and that it's valid to have fears around how they might react and what might happen, but it's also really crucial that you do speak up so that they can be, like, in situations where they may not be aware, like, is actually give them the awareness, because nothing can actually happen until they have it, you know?
Right, absolutely. And if you're not in the position that I was, like, if you're not a little kid in an abusive relationship with their parent, if you are a grown adult in an abusive relationship with your spouse, it's so much easier said than done, but you have the ability to leave. Or even if it's like so bad, like they're threatening you or whatever it is, like if you need to get the cops involved, whatever it is, like, understand the signs that you're being abused before it gets to the point where you don't feel like you can leave. Because I realize in so many of these situations, people just don't know that they're being abused until it is too far. And then, like, the whole thing's above their head. Huh?
Why do you think it is that people don't realize, or one of the reasons why people don't realize?
Emotional manipulation. Or even if they are totally aware, but they are being emotionally manipulated so bad. Because I remember my dad leaving that same night, Autumn called, and she called my dad and said, "I'm gonna kill myself if you don't come back," or like something along the lines of like, "I'm gonna kill myself because of like what you just did." And so he clearly, like, he went back home. We had firearms in the house because it's what you do, and he took them all out of the house so that she didn't have anything. But she, that was kind of what she did on a much lesser scale throughout the relationship, was very emotionally abusive. So even if you're totally aware of it, you kind of start to believe that it's your fault. Like, well, maybe she's not crazy, maybe I'm just an asshole.
Mm.
So understanding it's not your fault. You are being manipulated.
Yeah, it's powerful, and actually not taking responsibility for someone else's actions and not taking
Exactly.
someone else's emotions as your own. Yeah, it's huge. And it's interesting you say that, because there's been a couple of people I've worked with this year. One's your age and one is 24, and both of them have been through situations where they've been led to believe that it's them, like it's their fault, they need to change. And the more I've heard from their story, the more they shared with me, the more I realized it was actually all their parents' stuff. It was all of, like, it's so common. And this is another thing, like that statement in itself is actually being aware that emotional abuse is just as bad as physical abuse, if not worse sometimes.
Exactly, because you can, right, you can heal from a scratch on your arm, but it's very, very difficult to heal the like demons inside you that grow because of what other people can do to you.
Yeah.
And that's what I've realized is like I said, the repercussions of all of the stuff that I went through didn't show up right away. It's showing up now in my later years when it matters more too. Like I'm about to graduate high school, so I'm like this close to moving out, and this is when I'm starting to see all of my like some of my inabilities to like get over some of the stuff that I've been through. And so it's difficult, but it's necessary to recognize it, because if I didn't recognize it right now, it would get even worse. Like it would get so much worse. Thank goodness I'm getting help for it now, but um yeah, it's definitely, it's important that you understand that it's not your fault when you're being abused. It's never your fault. And that's like a lot of people are going to try to manipulate you into believing that, no, I'm crazy because you gave me a reason to be crazy. When the truth is we have every ability to choose the way that we react to other people. Like, my brother could walk in right now and tell me I looked ugly and he hated me. I have every ability to choose how I react to that statement. But like, if I was to say, well, if I was to like throw a complete tantrum and say like that was all your fault, he would probably feel really bad. But I have every ability to choose how I react. So it's never the victim's fault.
No. It's about responding, right? It's about taking the deep breath first and saying, okay, well, what is he trying to express here?
Right.
Where is that coming from? What's his trigger that's making him do that? What does he need from me right now?
Right. Absolutely.
Is there anything you feel like that you wanted to share that you haven't been able to share, that you feel like?
I think the last thing that I would want to say is on the same lines of like the victims never at fault. If you are in the position that my dad was in years ago when he just started dating her and I would come and say I'm scared, the child is never wrong. That is the other thing, is like, especially when they're like ages 4, like 3, 4, even like 5, it's difficult for them to make up stories about like how they feel. Yeah. So if your kid comes home and says, this person made me feel uncomfortable or scared me, or I didn't like how I felt when I was around this person, or whatever they have to say, believe them, especially when it's about their feelings.
Yeah.
Because like I said before, it's so difficult for little kids to process what they're already feeling. Yeah. So you have an insanely emotionally intelligent child if they're able to make up a feeling and come back and say, they made me really scared if they weren't already scared.
Yeah.
So your kid comes home and says, your new girlfriend made me really, really scared. Believe that child and leave your new girlfriend.
Yeah.
Exactly. Save your kid years of trauma.
Is that something that didn't quite happen for you in the beginning?
Yeah, because like I said, she would then cry to my dad and be like, I will get help. I will do everything that you're asking me to do and it'll all be fine. And he was like, oh, okay. Doesn't usually happen.
Mm.
Like he believed me, but he didn't really do anything about it because he believed her more.
Yeah. Wow, that's really powerful. That's really, it's a great piece of advice, because I think, especially with little kids, you know, it's so often in playgrounds and in social environments, if kids do say stuff, they often get accused of making things up or lying, you know, like if it sounds too out there or too extreme. And I think it's so easy for parents to just flippantly be like, oh, don't worry about it, it's okay, like brush it over.
Right.
And sometimes there also can be a sense of denial, like not wanting to believe it because that means a decision has to be made, you know, that
Exactly.
might not be easy. So yeah, it's really great that you've been able to share that and actually encourage people to believe people, because I think that's
Exactly.
part of the problem, right? It's people not believing.
Absolutely.
Do you find that
Definitely.
you've got a community around you now that you feel safe to express these things to?
Absolutely. I am very happy with like the crowd that I have around me now.
Yeah.
Like my dad and I have a great relationship. My dad's girlfriend now is amazing. I love her so much. My friends are great. And again, I've been able to like really be smart about who I choose as my friends because of everything that I've gone through. So
Mm.
my friends are nothing but amazing.
Yeah,
All good stuff has come from all of this.
that's so cool. So
Yeah.
that's kind of an encouraging thought as well for anyone that's watching that is in that situation right now. It's knowing that you do have ways around this, you do have options. There are people like you that are here to like to hear them. It's
Absolutely.
possible to still, like you said, that word choose. That's a really important word as well. Choosing. Um,
Right.
yeah, everything is a decision at the end of the day, even if you're in the midst of something, right? It's like you can still choose, am I gonna sit here and take this, or am I gonna speak up? Am I gonna change friend groups? Am I gonna, you know, am I going to?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi. So if people wanted to ask you questions or hear more about your story or get any more advice from you, like where can they find you? How can they get into?
So my Instagram is Wilkins underscore Haylee, and you can also post it with that as well. And then I can also put my Snapchat in there too. Um, yeah,
That's
other
awesome.
than that,
Fantastic. And if anyone wants to get in touch with me from your side, and if that is a thing,
right.
Instagram is the Big Sister Project underscore. And then I've got a website as well, which I can post with this. And I just do coaching and love talking to people like yourself that have stories to share. And I think this is really important. I think this is a good thing to start doing more of. Actually, you've kind of inspired me in that way. Is talk to more people. So if you have like a community of girls or boys or anyone that wants to kind of start sharing stuff more regularly, then
Yeah, absolutely.
awesome stuff. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you got what you needed, and feel free to reach out to Haylee or myself whenever you need to. And have an amazing rest of your day, evening, morning, whatever time it is.
Thank you so much. Thank you for talking.
Thank you, guys.